sucks, ask us anything.
Yeah.
It's
Here
so
we are.
It's so fun when you just pick them up
Yeah.
whenever.
Yeah, it is. It really is. It gives a nice, like, improvisational feel.
Yeah, like you just stumbled upon this room.
Yeah.
Two really cool guys.
It's like you stumbled upon a room where, like, your dad's jazz band is trying out a new tune. And you're like, I don't know if I understand what's going on here, but it sure is smooth.
I dig it.
Yeah. So yeah, this is the Ask Us Anything episode. We're going ahead and recording that.
It's your boys. It's your boys.
It's your boys.
Andrew and John.
John. Jan.
Answering all of your
That's
questions.
Jan Speaker. He is from
Jan Speaker.
Austria. So, okay. Ask us anything. Some of y'all wrote in because you're true fans, and we really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you so much for writing in.
Yeah. First up, let's get right into it.
All right, let's hear it.
We got Joshua Crowley. Probably no relation to Aleister Crowley,
Ooh.
but maybe so. He comes in with the question, Andrew, if you could collaborate with anyone on a piece, who would you collaborate with and why? Man, that's a tough one. Like, realistically, you know, Mr. Speaker and I have been talking about collabing lately.
Yeah.
He's finally got it into his brain that he needs to collaborate some more. So
need to let those walls down and melt with other people's creative flows.
yeah, man.
Get out of my own shit for a minute.
Yeah, man.
But seriously, I mean, if you could pick anybody.
Well, yeah, this is such a tough one, you know. I really enjoy all my collaborations with Bobby. They're super fun, loose, fancy free. But, you know, the one person I think that our styles would mesh pretty well together, I really like Blake Foster, goes by Sidewalks 1, so I'd like to collab with him. That'd be super cool.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Why would I collaborate with him? Yeah, I think our styles are sort of similar. And yeah, I'm just a big fan. Big fan, Blake. Big fan.
Yeah, I would love to see what that combination would be like. I didn't know you pronounced it Sidewalks 1.
Yeah, Sidewalks 1, I think.
Oh, yeah.
I think. Or Sidwalks 1. I don't know if Sidewalks makes more sense to me.
Yeah, I thought it was like Sid. Walks.
Maybe we'll have him on the podcast one day. And
He'd be great.
First question out the gate. How do you say your moniker?
Yeah, he has so many beautiful color combinations and depth, and
he's got atmosphere, he's got depth, he's got soft palette, you know.
Very nice guy too. I met him briefly at Gem and Jam a couple years ago.
Rad.
Seemed like a sweetheart.
Yeah.
Probably be a fun dude to work with.
Totally, man. So yeah, Blake, if you're listening, I'd like to collab with you.
Let's see it happen.
No pressure. Either way, I realize that, you know, logistics are involved and all that stuff. I'm trying to think of anyone else. There's plenty of people I'd love to collaborate with. You know, Randall and Morgan. I started a small piece with them.
You are collabing with them.
Yeah, but, you know, that's kind of like we're hanging out. Let's bust out that old piece. Yeah. Friends, just people who I'm friends with. I think Molly Gardner and I have talked about collabing a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really never happened, so apologies to Molly. It's probably my fault, I'd imagine. I don't know.
That's a funny thing, right? That you would think, given that question, that you'd pick like the most high level crazy artist, but then really it's like I just want to make
Alex Gray.
Yeah, I just want to make art with my friends.
Yeah, it's like, honestly, I have to be honest here. It's like, yeah, of course, collabing with someone like Alex Gray or any of the guys in Further, or even, you know, other cats who are a bit more experienced would be super fun. But, you know, there's a bit of a learning curve.
Yeah.
If I have to be honest.
Well, they're like the goats of their generation.
Yeah.
And
And I don't finish paintings quickly.
Yeah.
You know? However, that being said, the ones that I've done with Bobby seem to go 10 times as fast, because it takes a lot of the pressure off me, not only to come up with a cohesive idea and flow, but also to, you know, some of the rendering duties and things like that. So I don't know. You never know. Anybody want to collab? Holla. And to be realistic too, like, you know, people have asked, are like, oh, we should collab sometime. And that's cool. And I'm glad that they do that. But, you know, some of that, there's a bottleneck there with experience, I think. You can't just collab with anyone.
Yeah.
And you can't just, like say an artist who's been painting for a couple of years asks me, hey, bro, we should collab sometime.
Mm-hmm.
I might just be like, cool. But if I got to be honest, which I'm being honest right now, you know, it's kind of like, look, young man,
Yeah.
you got to put in some more work and some more time. And a lot of times, you know, there's the risk. Like if I were to ask Alex Gray, you know, he'd probably in some really gracious way decline my offer.
Exactly.
Because he's been painting longer than I've been alive.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Straight up.
Yeah.
And so there's kind of a thing there, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, I feel like sometimes people ask other people to collab just because it's going to be of benefit to the person who's less experienced.
Yeah. You're like, oh, well, Andrew's like, he's doing it. People know who he is. So if I can like sneak in there and make a painting with him, that'll boost me up.
And not even me, but even just, I know a lot of other artists at my experience level get asked the same question. So it's kind of like, it's cool that the person's that enthusiastic and confident in their abilities and where they're at, and no diminishment towards that. Keep doing what you do. Take
a chance. But you know what's cooler than taking the chance is to work really fucking hard.
Yeah.
So maybe somebody who's like an art hero to you that you want to work with
will ask you,
sees your shit and is like, dude, I dig what you're doing. Let's do something together.
Yeah.
There's something a little more beautiful, less vampiric about, you know, put your ass in a chair.
Totally.
And do the hard work to,
and don't take it personal if someone is like, no thanks.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Just don't take it personal.
Because
I know we're all sensitive little artists.
Yeah.
But, you know, you just got to, and maybe Blake would be like, you know what, dude? No.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But he was just kind of the first person that came to mind. Also, I should mention, as long as we're calling people out here, I did a collab with Chris Bolin, and that was pretty awesome and really fun. Chris is a fun dude to work with. And yeah, he still needs to finish it. It's in his hands, but he's got a big show coming up. So, you know, no shade there at all. Much love to Chris and all the other people I've collaborated with so far. But yeah, that's kind of my whole, you got a little more than you bargained for with that question, Mr. Crowley. And so the next question, he asked 2 questions, one for each of us. He says, John, would you ever paint using a giant brush? And what would you want to paint with that giant paintbrush? So I don't know if the first brush is just like a hairbrush.
Well,
but the second brush is definitely a paintbrush. So
I do.
I'm just being a dick. Sorry.
So, I mean, I do tend to work with smaller brushes, very intricate kind of stuff.
Mr. Detail.
Super dialed.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I mean, I would definitely want to work with larger brushes, larger canvases, Unfortunately, where I live now, I don't have the space.
It's pretty small in here. We're in John's studio right now.
Yeah, I don't have the space to create gigantic paintings that would warrant using a gigantic brush. But my life situation may hopefully be changing soon. And I'm dreaming of stretching 12-foot wide canvases using gigantic brushes. And as far as what I would paint, I think it would just be a continuation of my art journey,
Yeah.
Whatever my style is or focus is, I would love to just create larger versions of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And flow. The idea of using a larger brush on a larger canvas and like having it be more of instead of just moving fingertips, like moving your whole body in a dance with a canvas.
It's fun.
And then slowly, over months, getting down to, number 2 size, tiny little brushes and getting it totally dialed in.
Well, the cool thing about bigger canvases, though, too, is you don't have to be super detailed as much because, to even look at a 12-foot canvas, you have to stand probably 12 feet away or something.
Yeah.
And at that distance, you just, you notice what you notice.
But I'm also like a psycho in my own creative realm. And like, I can't help but dial shit in.
Yeah.
So
I know the feeling.
I have this dream. In a way, it'd be so cool to create gigantic paintings that look amazing halfway across the room. And as you walk closer and closer to it, the detail is just immaculate and pulls you in.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no stone left unturned. Mm-hmm. It's as dialed in as, 24 by 36 painting.
Sure.
But 12 feet wide. So
it might take you several years.
Yeah, I know. But that's
sounds
the thing
like
too.
You're up for the challenge, though. If anybody is,
yeah.
I mean, I believe.
Get me some big brushes, man. I'm ready to go.
Right.
I just need the space.
Yeah. So our next question. Yeah, I'm gonna be reading all the questions because I just got it pulled up on my phone. If anyone was wondering.
And Andrew's a better reader.
Yeah, John didn't really learn how to read, so
I'm actually terrible at reading out loud.
Are you?
Yeah.
Really? I was just kidding. John knows how to read, but apparently not out loud. So great. Jesse Hill. What's up, Jesse?
Jesse.
Hey there, Andrew and John. Loving the podcast so far. You guys are really killing it for just... I guess I should just get to the question.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of like people big-upping us, and that's cool. But what sort of interests, hobbies did you have prior to painting, and how did those maybe play an effect on you becoming an artist? Jesse's Instagram is at Jesse, because we did say we would shout people out. Crowley didn't give us his. As far as I know, if he did, I'll go back and we'll put it in there. Jesse Hills is at Jesse, JESSE _ Jester, JESTER _ So that's 2 underscores there. So thanks for the question, Jesse.
Thanks, Jesse.
Can I toss that question to you first, or do you want me to take it?
Sure. So what was I doing before art?
Yeah.
So growing up in high school, skateboarding dominated my world. And I think that totally influenced me because, it's art in motion. What trick you choose to do on what structure, you're going out and you're visualizing, reality transformed for me when I was into skateboarding. So everywhere I went, all I saw was things to skate and what trick could you do off of that would look cool.
Nice.
And then also with skateboarding was, badass skateboard deck designs, skateboard style, every notable skater has like their own kind of unique, their world, tricks they choose, places they choose to skate, the clothes they wear, everything like that, I think was really creatively inspiring. So that was one of the big influences. also in high school, I was really into hardcore punk and hardcore metal music. And I used to be like a front man in a band called Mark Twain. So I used to scream, and it was, I was like I was a frustrated teen, but it was a way of, instead of just being like a stick in the mud, instead I was taking that rage and going out and expressing myself, through like these cheesy songs. Super embarrassing. I hope nobody finds it. So like screaming and dancing and all that. And then another thing was, it ties into the skateboarding, but I actually ended up going to college for video production. So, video shooting, video editing. In high school, I used to make skateboard videos. And then I kind of studied that in college. It's a cool way, teaches you to look at the world in interesting ways, how to take raw content and create it into something interesting and fun to watch and all that. So I think those three things totally informed the artwork. I didn't even find art till after I graduated college. And I was kind of, depressed and confused, and I kind of had like an aha moment where I started drawing. And I think all those things totally informed me. Creative expression, it's been a common theme through my life. And
that's rad.
I just didn't click that I was an artist till quite later, my mid-20s. But
right, just a general creative person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What about you?
Sweet. Let's see where to start with that one. In high school, I didn't really do much. I played American football until my senior year when I quit.
What position, man?
It's like tight end, wide receiver kind of guy. I don't know why, because I'm very scrawny. It takes a lot for me to put on any sort of weight. So there was that, but I did quit senior year because we were hanging out at my friend, also named Jesse, his pool one day during the summer, and doing the things, getting high, swimming in the pool, hanging out with chicks. And I was like, I don't want to go to 2-a-day practices. And it wasn't any sort of like super like fuck you rebellion. It was more like, I don't think this is for me, actually.
Yeah, you just weren't into it.
Yeah. So basically
that's pretty revelatory though, right? With,
yeah.
People's expectations of you.
Sure.
And to follow your heart. To be like, I don't like it.
Yeah. I'll never forget what my coach said to me when I went in there. He sat down and I was like, I'd missed 2 days, and told my parents, I was like, I'm not going to do this. And they're like, well, you're going to march in there and tell your coach. And I was like, okay. So I went in there, and, he looked at me and he goes, I know a lot of guys, man, who did the exact same thing you're doing now. And not a day goes by that they don't regret it. And I got to tell you guys, not a day goes by that I don't regret it. But shout out to Coach Harmon, because he was actually a pretty cool dude.
He just wanted what was best for you.
Yeah. It's just a funny little quip from my life there. He just thought I was fucking up, which at the time, I was. So basically, after that, I just kind of partied my way. I should mention, I guess I sort of picked up a guitar when I was like 16, around kind of the same time. And I would go on and off between like fits of like really dialing in and learning how to play it. And then, kind of being like, I want to socialize and figure all that out. And so so in college, got to be around age 19 or 20, and excuse me. Yeah, so around age 19 or 20, I really started diving into the guitar, and that kind of coincided with sort of a revelatory experience, just in the nature of my own consciousness. It wasn't anything necessarily psychedelic. It was more like meditation style, just like feeling myself,
Mm-hmm.
And so I started a band with my two best friends, John and Duke, and we played in that band for about 3 years. It was really fun. We were called Symbionts. And the band kind of dissolved, and my girlfriend broke up with me, or I broke up with her. I can't remember, but I was sad boy for a little bit. And that's when I found, oh yeah, I've been sketching and doodling all my life. And I just put the pedal to the metal and eventually started painting after that. So yeah, I definitely have been a creative person, maybe who was sort of told that creativity wasn't, or for some reason or another, I was under the assumption that wasn't a viable path in high school.
Yeah.
Until I was like, well, partying's a viable path. And then I kind of, real roundabout way came back to art, which is something that I had loved since I was a kid. But yeah, definitely playing in a band and loving music informed me on even how to draw and to sketch. I used to put on Fela Kuti records and just kind of like hit a line every time, like the backbeat, the the shaker, the big old shaker was going, and just like hit that beat, and kind of evolved from like a rhythmic sense of music. So yeah, that's the story of my life. Thank you. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
That's like, and all these creative outlets inform each other. And then I think eventually one sticks. Or maybe in your case, 4 of them, like Michael Garfield, he likes to create art, and he's like scientifically minded and likes to give talks and makes music.
Mm-hmm.
So they all inform each other, and I think it's just like whatever speaks to your heart, wherever you are, follow that, see what happens.
Yeah.
You won't be let down.
You'll be surprised, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thanks, Jesse. Appreciate the question. The next person who wrote in is Tom Pink.
Tommy.
Tommy. Well, never met this guy in person. So he has a silly question at first. He says, I have a pressing question. : on a scale from 1 to 10, what's your favorite color of the alphabet? Well, we're not tripping right now, Tom, so we'll get back to you.
7.
Nice. Yeah, I was going to say 6, but close enough.
Great question, Tom.
The other question, the super serial question, is what do you see as the biggest problem facing our world today? Example, climate change. And what role does painting or art in general have in overcoming that problem? Wow. We might spend the rest of the podcast on this one.
Yeah.
Before we dive in, Tom's Instagram is at Tom, spelled with a 0, T0M_pink. At Tom Pink with a 0 and an underscore. So,
biggest problem.
Man, I mean, I feel like all problems are interrelated.
Yeah, and I think at least from my perspective, I'm not drawn too much to the activist spectrum of the problems of the world. I think it's...
Is it because nothing ever gets done that way?
Well, because it's... I think it's... At least from my perspective, the biggest problem is individuals not taking full responsibility for themselves and being fully integrated as a person, so that I think if you look out into the world and you see good guys and bad guys and friends and enemies, I think that's the biggest problem facing the world. Because we're all one collective happening. We're all one humanity.
Yeah.
And it seems popular to me to think whoever you are, that you're on the good team, and the people that don't agree with you are on the bad team, and that you're motivated by good and they're motivated by malice. And I think that perspective is the greatest, the most pressing problem to me. I think it's just taking personal responsibility, being vulnerable enough and recognizing the deepest darkness in yourself and the greatest light in yourself, and realizing that that exists in everybody else. And then from there, if everybody comes in a realization of that, we can actually do this thing together. And until that's overcome, it's going to be fighting. And you're going to think that you're fighting for what's right, but really you're just sowing deeper seeds of division between beings, which you create the counterpart. If you see yourself as the activist and you see others as the oppressors or whatever you want to call them, you're going to simply by engaging with the world from that perspective, you create the enemy. It's like the old Ram Dass thing, hippies create cops, cops create hippies.
Yeah.
It's the identification. So I don't know. It might not be the answer you're looking for. It's not as direct, but I think it's, ego transcendence, taking personal responsibility, and truly empathizing with everybody. Especially the people that you think are your enemy or that you disagree with.
Yeah.
At the core of them is love as well.
And
until we realize that, nothing's going to change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that was deep analysis. No joke. And then the second part of that question is, in what role does painting your art have in overcoming that problem?
Yeah. I mean, that's what art is all about, is transcendence of self, personal responsibility to show up and do the work, and do it excellently. And the whole nature of creativity is sort of transcending your own opinions, thoughts, ego states. And then you release nuggets. If it's tough, right? So like, there's a responsibility for an artist, at least for me as an artist, is I have to be healthy. I have to be paying attention to myself, to the world. And I have to do a lot of hard work, if you want to call it that, showing up and facing discomfort and sacrificing my body in a sense, however lofty that sounds, to creativity and transcendence. Yeah. So that what I'm creating are echoes of the thing I was just talking about.
Right.
So, yeah. I mean, and also a world without art would be so sad. Art gets people outside of themselves. It shows them something beyond their self. When you see a cool piece of art, your problems disappear. Your anxieties, your depression are alleviated, maybe for a second, and you see a glimpse of something greater than what is already here. And I think all the creative types are pointing towards transcendence, whether they realize it or not. And it's medicine for a sick world. I think creativity in all forms is. Yeah. And I don't know.
Hard agree. Yeah. Hard agree on that. I don't even know where to start with the problems of the world. I think it's kind of the divided mind, like you were talking about. there aren't any simple solutions, because from that, the seed of, the dualistic mind comes the ability to be hoodwinked into thinking that, like you said, you're on the good side.
Yeah.
Or that there are sides. And
it's bullshit.
I think more and more what the evidence is pointing to is that we've got to get past that kind of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
If we're going to solve any of these problems on a concrete scale. How does art do that? Well, if you're making art, you're part of the solution, I would say, is a distilled way to put that. You're at least not contributing to the problem.
Mm-hmm. It's a form of optimism.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
And
you're not really, as an artist, you're not really participating so much in the drama of the world. Certainly you mentioned climate change. I don't know if you wanted us to talk about that. There's so many other problems too, social problems that are happening right now because of these emergent technologies taking us into psychological realms of, seems as if we're not resilient when really we are.
Mm-hmm.
Seems as if we can't take, the old little nursery rhyme, sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me, I don't think anyone even says that anymore. So it's just a big problem. It's like, if you wanted to talk about something like climate change, you gotta now be worried about who you might upset.
It's like stepping into a hornet's nest.
Yeah, exactly. We're all walking around on eggshells when, 20 years ago, before the internet really popped off, everybody was just doing their thing. And I do think it's a better world now than then, but, I don't really know, man. Art just seems to be a way to kind of detach your emotions from the drama that is being shoved in your face when you pick up the telephone or the cell phone, when you pick up your cell phone and look on social media. So yeah, I think, it's also a good way to work on yourself.
Mm-hmm.
A good way to explore your own darkness and your own light and develop good habits, because you're not going to be successful unless you have some willpower and some focus and right energy, right action, right effort, right thought, So, yeah. In short, it's the military-industrial complex. It's the biggest problem. Ban the CIA. Okay, next question. This is a long one. I haven't read all these before. Let's see. This is from Abby Rickett. I guess we'll tell you a little bit about Abby. I'm from London, 18 years old, and my Instagram name is Abby Rickett, ABIRICKETT.
Artsy AF International, son.
Yeah. Thanks for listening across the pond.
Yeah.
Abby. We really appreciate that. And happy to know that we're, reaching people all over the world. So she has a website for young creative people, which is also on Instagram. It's called escapade.official. So check that out. Escapade.official. Cool. Young creative people. We need you guys inspired and articulate, and it seems like Abby is both of those things. Her questions are: for a level, I do art and photography, but sometimes find it hard to be super inspired. I listen to music, go to galleries, etc., but I was wondering if there were any YouTube channels, documentaries, etc., that help you get inspired as an artist or just to be creative. And then, yeah, well, I guess we'll do that question first. She put 2 questions,
So, where does inspiration come from?
Yeah, specifically if there are any sort of YouTube channels, documentaries, maybe inspiration outside of other medium besides painting. You want me to go?
Yeah, go ahead.
I got a few things on deck. I really like a lot of film sometimes. Stanley Kubrick is an amazing director. I would recommend any of his movies. Eyes Wide Shut is really creepy and interesting. Space Odyssey 2001. And you can kind of like in this, there's this scene, maybe you've seen it, Abby, and others, where in Space Odyssey 2001, where the kind of hominid creature throws up a bone in the air and it comes tumbling down into space, and then it kind of turns into a space station. And that right there is human history. In the blink of an eye, it's here. It's from, picking apart the bones of dead animals on the savannas to gearing up for some sort of interstellar travel.
What a ride.
Yeah. And keeping that in mind, how short that seems, and how Kubrick really captured that idea in just one image with no words. It relates to being an artist, especially a visual artist, in that you only have a quick time to express something visually that can be, for me, analyzed on many levels. That's what I like about any good music or art, is that you listen or look at it, and you can listen and look at it over and over and over again. And as your life experience informs your perception, the thing changes. I'd recommend listening to Tool. But seriously, I would.
Hey, did you hear they have a new album out?
Yeah, man. We could talk about that. Maybe we should dedicate a whole episode to Fear Inoculum, because I really love it.
Maybe. I don't know.
No, we won't. If we do, it'll just be me talking on my phone. Layers of meaning, getting back to that re-listenability or reviewability. Find something like that. I really like listening to Terrence McKenna talk. He's just really good with words. He's really eloquent, I guess, would be a better way to say that.
Yeah, Terrence McKenna's at the top of the list.
Yeah.
Huge inspiration.
Yeah. Just for me, it's finding something that I can, that just sparks you, a documentary. I really love music documentaries. I'm a Grateful Dead fan up to a certain point, and they have a really great documentary. I believe it was by Scorsese was the director or something. But it's a really great documentary, and you can kind of get inspired from one of the seeds of the current psychedelic-based visionary art culture we're all continuing to build. This is it's a funny question because we get asked this a lot. Every time my answer changes, but what kind of my go-to answer is that first thing is knowing that you only have a limited time on this planet. and trying to make the most long-lasting, deep thing that you possibly can.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she was saying like she has hard time being inspired sometimes, right?
Yeah. Let's go to the tape and look at that again. She says, but sometimes I find it hard to be super inspired.
Okay. So super inspiration happens once in a blue moon.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we have a desire of some external stimuli showing us the sign. So then we go on this wild ride of creativity. And I think we need to be wary of relying on inspiration. I think inspiration comes and deep insights come when they come.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't force that to occur.
Mm-hmm.
It will happen in good time and space. So even if you're not inspired, make art anyway.
Yeah.
And sometimes when you think you weren't inspired,
you will
a year later, you look back at that piece and you're like, wow, I was so inspired.
Yeah, I was on one or something.
Yeah. So nobody knows what the fuck inspiration really is anyway. And
yeah,
it's, it's cool when you feel really inspired, but most of the time you're not going to feel super inspired, and that's okay. And that's, everybody goes through that.
Sure.
I don't know. Like, I think I'm inspired by everything in a way.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm not like specifically inspired by things. I love to listen to podcasts. Like, of course, everyone's favorite podcast, or a lot of people's, like Joe Rogan's podcast.
Yeah, he has some interesting guests on there.
Yeah, and
2 out of every 3 might be something you're not interested in at all.
Mm-hmm.
But there'll be one, and you'll just be like, "Wow, that guy knew a lot about quantum physics," or whatever.
Or anybody has on that. Just anybody that's doing their thing and they're really into what they're doing. I find that inspiring to see somebody else really into something.
Yeah.
Even if it's not my thing. Like even if somebody's like really into fighting and I'm not that into fighting,
right.
I see at the core of it, it's an excitement for integrating in life in this specific way. And that's really inspiring to me. Also, like, I love drum and bass music.
Hell yeah.
And that's inspiring. I love the tempos.
Yeah.
Like fast music. I don't know. It just drives my body and it like puts me into a creative zone.
Mm-hmm.
And nature. Super.
Oh yeah.
Like I don't go out in nature and then be like, I need to paint what I saw. But what I think it does is spending time in nature, going for a hike, using my body. It clears anxiety out of my system. I'm humbled by the beauty of nature and it recharges me. So I'm excited to like come back to the canvas, sit inside and work.
Yeah.
And then I had another good one. I forget what it was. Whatever. But yeah, inspiration is, I find inspiration a strange thing to try to pin down. Because I think what it is if you can earnestly approach life, no matter what is coming at you, and be present with what's happening, the inspiration in any moment is infinite. And it's up to you to be present to see it. And that's what I try to do. I just try to be open to what's coming at me. And I don't specifically try to get inspired. But the one thing I do have is if I ever feel really kind of lost or just confused and kind of low, a Ram Dass talk on YouTube really sets me straight.
Yeah.
Because he's a beautiful human being. His whole thing is his practice is loving everything. And if life ever feels heavy, or you don't feel like you're good enough, or that you're just having a rough go of it, I mean, throw on a Ram Dass talk and you'll feel right as rain on the other side of it. So
definitely, I agree. He's I mean, I'd say from my perspective, he's an enlightened person who really can dive into the mechanics of how to love a little bit better, how to, be happy or be inspired. Something that you said I wanted to build on was that I think Tom Waits said in an interview once that, inspiration, or as some people call it, the muse, strikes in the most random of times and places.
Sure does.
And you just kind of have to be, it kind of has to find you working already.
Yeah.
It's not
just make yourself available.
Yeah, you have to kind of make the initiative step to be like, well, I'm going to work on this every day, and hopefully my friend from another dimension shows up and blasts me full of energy and ideas and excitement. Because you never know when an idea is going to come. And if you're, say, out in, with your friends or something, walking around old London town, and you look at something and you say, I really want to paint that, or I'd like to photograph that, but I'm not in my studio. That's kind of maybe the wrong attitude.
Yeah.
You just got to be at the ready, hands ready to go, mind open, heart open, mouth shut. No, I don't know. Talk all you want, but I think that you just have to be working first, and that sort of invites inspiration in.
You're showing up. Like, all you can do is just show the fuck up every day.
Yeah.
And the inspiration will find you.
Absolutely. Abby's second question is also, what things helped you be more creative? As in, what habits did you stop, and what did you start and do and realize it helped you to generate more ideas for your work?
So I would recommend, so when you start making art, each piece is kind of heavy. It's like this whole thing and you're trying to figure it out. So what I would recommend is create a fuckload of small pieces that don't require a ton of commitment. Experiment with as many ideas as you can. Anything that you feel like you want to try, get it out of your system.
It's like college relationships.
Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't know.
That was just, I'm trying to riff over here. Anyway.
But yeah, crank out tons of ideas. Just do it. And then by doing that, like, you don't even have to try that hard in a way. Just show up and keep making a ton of stuff. And then you'll start finding out, like, oh yeah, I don't like when I do this. I'm not going to do that anymore.
Right.
I like when I do this. I'm going to do more of that. And then you just have to get ideas out of you as much as possible. And I think I found, like, the more I've made, the more paintings and drawings I've made, the less heavy each one feels. And I'm just kind of free to create. But there's a lot of groundwork. There was a lot of groundwork for me until I felt free creatively. But there's something, from my personal perspective, the brute force of, like, constantly creating something at a certain point broke, and now I can just make stuff.
Yeah.
And so there's that, right? And then there's also get proper sleep. Eat healthy.
Take care of yourself.
Exercise. Live like what we all have different things that we're into, but find a healthy lifestyle that grooves with you personally. And I think finding balance in a healthy lifestyle allows you to be able to show up to create earnestly at the drop of a hat.
Yeah.
But if you're, taking a bunch of Adderall and staying up for 25 hours and then you're crashing and, you're not available. And So,
and that might even, if I can just pick up, just experiment too. Like the Adderall thing, pushing yourself like that might be useful in the beginning. There aren't any rules. I think the gist of what you were saying was more like, just take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Something I'd add to that is, don't take too many social cues from people around you, especially, no offense, being 18 years old. There are probably a lot of people who aren't on the creative path, and something I wish I would have done earlier is just, like you were saying, just grinded, made more art.
Yeah.
And listen to your mind, listen to your body. If you're like, well, okay, I'm gonna be sober for a while, and you find yourself at the easel not being able to create because you really want to smoke weed or something.
Yeah. Let yourself smoke the weed.
Yeah, smoke the weed. But it's more about not having any rules, really. I think part of the reason why we create is to have, part of the reason I create for sure is to have some freedom, at least on the 2D surface that I'm creating on.
Mm-hmm.
And, you gotta kind of make your own hierarchy of values and what you're aiming for ultimately.
And ultimately, what's good for you.
Right.
Listen to that voice.
Exactly. We want to empower you, the listener.
And we all have that voice inside of us telling us exactly what we need to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more tune into it.
Yeah.
And don't, you don't get to lie to yourself.
It's true.
So you can try and you're going to feel like shit, or you could pay attention to that thing inside of you that's letting you know exactly how to move forward.
Yeah.
You might think you don't know, but you know.
You might think that we're wise or something. And maybe we are a little bit. But maybe we're not. Maybe we're just dumbos. And we're not you. That's the point, is that we don't know your unique context of inspirations and ideas and situations you find yourself in.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I did want to say is that there's this balance that you'll have to strike, and maybe you'll work hard enough right now at your young age to not have to worry about it too much, but there's a balance you'll have to strike between supporting yourself and making art. From my own experience, I would advise, don't quit your job too early.
Yeah.
I did that, and at the time it felt right. But really my work wasn't up to par, and I would just say support yourself in any way that you can. Support yourself enough so that you can make art every day. And if you get to a point in your art career where you're really struggling and the next painting has to sell so that you can pay bills and make rent, your painting's going to suffer. The work is going to suffer because
there's
too much pressure. There's a lot of worry surrounding your work, and it was weird because when I finally went back to a job, a lot of the stress went away, and my work really started to blossom, and also remove all those obstacles that are getting in your way. It might be a relationship. It might be cookies, I don't know what it's going to be, but you have your own unique set of experiences and situations.
Yeah.
Okay. So hope that answers fastest, Abby. Thank you kindly. Luke. Hi, my name is Luke. Luke is at Warm Planet, all one word, on Instagram.
At Warm Planet. Luke.
He says he's decided he wants to dedicate his life to getting better at painting and making things. That's awesome, Luke, especially in context about what we talked about earlier from I think Tom Pink's question about the problems in the world.
Yeah.
So Luke here says you both have your own recognizable style. How did you, quote unquote, end up with your current style? Have you tried many styles which formed into your current one? What was it inspired by someone else? And do you ever make paintings outside of your style? That's a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Let's start with the first one. How did you end up with your current style?
I think our friend Kevin V. Hill, Mr. Melty, said it best. I didn't find my style found me.
Yeah.
And I think just make art and a style happens. Like,
right.
I think it's, if you try to focus too much on like having a style, it's going to be contrived.
Yeah.
Instead, just like make stuff. And I don't know if I have a recognizable style, maybe sometimes I don't know, everything that I make is my style. It's like
it can't not be. That's
exactly.
the point, is that, you know, of course at first you're going to copy and emulate and mimic, but then, you know, after a while you just flow. I think flow is the most important thing.
Mm-hmm.
Letting go of any preconceived notions of how something needs to look in the end, and just coming up with your own style. It's just going to be a natural outgrowth of you as a being, you as a personality, you as your preferences, influences, tastes, humor, all that stuff will it's almost like it automatically goes into the painting.
Yeah.
I guess, you know, like I don't even think about style when I make a painting really anymore. I just
I used to
do the damn thing, I think.
I used to really hone in on that too, like the style thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think what it is after years of creating, you look back and then you just see that you have a style.
Yeah.
But while you're kind of developing, you might not see it yet, but just keep making art. And I think something also, because he was talking about like inspiration, right?
Yeah.
And it's something to be wary of. You know, as I was creating art, and then I was hugely influenced by Randall Roberts, Morgan Mandala. We're great friends now. And like there was a period in time where I was kind of like emulating their style, but also doing it very much in my own way. And I think that's something to watch is it's cool to emulate artists that you like.
Right.
But then at a certain point you have to be able to kind of like realize that like, oh, I'm kind of just doing what this person does. But it can be a really good vehicle for you to hone in your skills and technique, because you will I uniquely kind of honed in my own sort of technique by emulating flows of another artist that I liked.
And we all do that.
Exactly.
In the beginning, for sure. You know, I think maybe in our last podcast, I think Peter mentioned like musicians have figured out, oh no, that was collaboration, but still in the music world, people have figured out that like, you know, no one owns the 3-chord progression.
Yeah.
You know, lots of reggae artists cover soul, and lots of soul artists cover other soul artists from back in the day, and no one's butthurt about it.
Exactly.
You don't want to be ripping people off, but you know,
it's a fine line, because like and nobody owns reggae.
Right.
And
no
like,
one owns reggae. No one owns
if you're not like a big fan of reggae, it might all kind of seem stylistically the same. But then it's like it's this meeting place from which everybody puts their own unique spin on it and style as well. Yeah. So there's like genres of creativity that you can dive into, but then you have to find a unique voice within there too.
Sure.
Something like that.
Yeah. And I think that as for your other question, was it inspired by someone else? Yeah, I mean, for me, you know, I think it's really hard to be an artist in and take psychedelics and try and capture that experience without being influenced right now in this day and age, without being influenced by guys like Alex Gray, Robert Venosa, the Further Collective. I mean, I see few people who aren't, influenced by that, because we're all in the wake of that, we just are. And it's not, and it's cool to explore those kind of memes or themes or whatever you want to call it. But for me, I think it's important to, if you're looking for quote unquote your own style, it's important to remember that you don't want to try and reinvent the wheel.
Yeah.
That's just a fool's errand. And
good luck being totally unique.
Yeah, and you don't want to, but at the same time, you don't want to just be boxed in to say like, oh, I'm a landscape painter or something. So there's this is a good question. There's this fine line you got to walk. I think knowing that you're inevitably influenced by something or someone is important. And then also making sure that it doesn't look or sound or read like the people who came before you. It's like if you're making, I don't know. Oh, it's a tough one. Yeah, if you're making paintings, for instance, and you love Alex Gray, and like who doesn't? You want to just find this line of like knowing that influence is in there and just painting, and if you see something come up that's too just obvious, that just smacks of like, oh man, people are gonna know that is just like me kind of riffing on something someone else has already done. Stay away from it. But at the same time, again, we're all influenced by each other, and we may all just be like looking at the same landscape or and the same figures in that landscape.
Yeah. But like, don't worry about it. You'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Just be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
I guess like,
I think that's the most important thing, actually.
Create earnestly and be honest with yourself about, how much you're emulating somebody, or I don't know. I would say maybe doodle a lot too. Yeah. That's a great way to get to the core elements of your unique style and flow. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Also, I might like to mention that I started making art really before the internet was a big thing. So, I didn't see my first Venosa piece or my first Further piece till well after I had been painting. I knew Alex Gray because he's just kind of ubiquitous with Tool and everything. But yeah, I think maybe there's an advantage to that. Maybe get off the internet for like 2 months and see what your mind see what your mind generates. Because there is something to like looking at images and knowing that those images get embedded in you. It's like eating food. If you're consuming media, it has to go somewhere. You have to digest it somehow. So, and I'm not going to follow my own advice about getting off the internet, but if you want to, just throwing it out there.
It's definitely not going to get off the internet.
And the last question, he says, do you ever make paintings out of your style? Yeah, we were talking about this earlier on the phone, actually. Like, I don't think you really can.
It's all our style.
Yeah, it's like, even if you picked a whole different subject matter, a whole different palette. Yeah, exactly. Like John's pointing at this still life that he painted, I think probably before we met each other.
Yeah, way before when I lived in Philly.
But it's still, it still is like, oh, that's definitely
still
John.
Me. So yeah. Yeah, we do get out of our style, but everything I create is my style.
Yep. Yeah. Well, okay, so we have one last question, which serendipitously enough came to us this morning, even though we had been planning to do the Ask Me Anything for a couple days now. Ashley Marquez says, "Good morning, John and Andrew. Thanks for creating Artsy AF for us peeps on the same wavelength." You're welcome. And for those who aren't, too. It's been a blast listening to your conversations about anything and everything. If your mind space was its own universe, what would it be called and what would it be like?
Oh, jeez, my mind space.
This is Sincerely Sunshine Cat, our friend on
awesome.
On Instagram. Thanks for all the support, Ashley.
Yeah, you're great.
You're really awesome. And so that is her on Instagram at Sincerely Sunshine Cat, all one word.
She's got a really cute, fun art style. Check her out.
Yeah. So if your mind space was its own universe, what would it be called and what would it be like? I think like the undulating imaginarium of Truck Norris. Because, you know, like I'm from Kentucky and like people drive trucks there, I guess. I don't know, man. That's a really good question. It's a fun question.
That's
too.
a tricky one.
It's well, it'd be like what if I could just title it a book? It'd be called like On the Spectrum. No, not that. It'd be called this one's stumping me. It'd be called
It'd be called
It'd be called The End. We're gonna have to heavily edit this part.
No, we're leaving it in.
It's gonna be raw. It'd be called Ooh Baby, I Like It Raw.
Yeah. I had a good thought. Should I go on mine?
Tang.
Do you need time?
Woo tang. Yeah, go.
Well,
Save me.
It's not like the funnest name. It's not like quirky, but maybe my mind verse would be called, I came up with the word God funnel because
You can't say God.
yeah. Well, whatever. I'm not scared of the word God.
I know some people are.
But
I was just giving you shit.
You know, it's like I'm a human being, right? And it's chaos in here, you know. Sometimes it all feels quite good and it's rainbows and unicorns, but that's very rare, you know. To be honest, I don't know if it would be surprising or not, but a lot of the time I'm like dealing with a lot of anxiety and sometimes unhappiness and struggling to find myself and maybe navigating relationships with people and navigating the space of being an artist and a human being and a lover and a friend. It's wild and it's confusing and it's all bumping around in there.
Mm-hmm.
Brr, you know, and
What was that?
brr,
Yeah, there we go. Nice.
and you know, it's like the mind space can be rather chaotic a lot of the time, but I think ultimately there's always this sort of refrain at a certain point in time where it's all, I don't know, funneling down to a realization of God or oneness of being or the majesty of the universe, whatever your term is, you know.
Also, funneling has the word fun in it.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
There you go.
And it is fun. It's So I think the way my mind works is it's chaos, a lot of times confused and scared and sometimes excited and having a blast, but it's all for realization of something greater than myself, and that's ultimately where it always ends up. So I don't know, maybe that's is that a satisfactory answer?
Yeah, I'd say so. If you guys could go ahead and call in and let us know if John's answer was satisfactory or not.
Let me know. If you didn't like it, spam my comments. Tell me my answer was bad.
Yeah. I don't think you're going to get any of those. Maybe you will, though. That'd be funny. I think my universe would be in search of haters because I don't have any haters yet. And I'm actually kind of sad about that.
Attention, all haters. Come after Andrew,
guys,
please.
I need some trolls. I'm going to need some...
He's a bad man.
I'm not as good as you think I am. Or I'm not as benign or like uninteresting as... Don't look over me. No. I don't know what it would be called, honestly. Again, I'm really stumped. I think that the whole idea of a mindscape, giving a mindscape a name, no offense, Ashley, we love you and your support, but I don't really vibe with naming things like that. Maybe it'd be called the unnameable, the unspeakable truth of life. Unspeakable truth of life. That sounds deep, right?
I generally find like
what would it be like was the second part of that question.
What would it be like?
Yeah, what would it be like? Well, I think it'd be like a lot like your mindscape, or maybe some other people's mindscapes.
Probably terrifying.
Euphoric, exalted, scared, sad, hilarious. Hopefully mostly hilarious, and exalted is my hope. But, look, everybody, and we've talked about this before on the podcast, every artist, everyone you may look up to, you being the listener at large, they all have problems. It might not be news, but, maybe it is. Everybody has their own set of ups and downs and black holes and supernovas in their mindscape universe. So, I think it would probably be an exact replica of the actual universe living inside my mind.
Right?
Because I think that's what everybody has.
Fractal nature of reality.
We have a bit of we have like a cross section of the world inside us.
The external world is it's just a mirror of what's inside.
Yeah.
It contains the most beautiful things. It has, beautiful, majestic mountains and beautiful sunsets on the beach. And it also has war, famine, and everything in between.
Yeah. It has, plants. I'm trying way too hard to think of something clever.
It's got plants in it.
It's got plants, mostly plants. Listen to plants. Seriously. Oh man, Ashley, you asked the question. We should have screened that question, because now we got to end on
I feel like Ashley's mind state is probably just like, yay.
Yeah, she's like, I'm glad they answered.
She just seems like such a nice person. Like all her art is super fun. And
but I'm sure, Ashley, I don't know you, but you probably go through your trials and tribulations as well.
That's true. Everyone's going through it.
Yeah.
It's a thing. Our minds are fucking squirrely.
Yeah.
It's like, there's a balance of heart space and mind space.
Right.
I think it's this funny thing, right, where the mind space is interesting because it's always changing, and sometimes it feels really great. Sometimes it, lately for me, it hasn't really felt that great. And what I find interesting is that, like, no matter how much your reality kind of changes, maybe you move to a nicer place and you have better friends and you're more successful. Your mind is
this just a made up story here?
No, it's mine.
Yeah, okay.
It's my story. So, I've never lived in such a nice place. I've never had such great friends. I feel kind of successful as an artist and everything, but my mind is still, my mind is still a squirrely, crazy, nutty thing.
Yeah.
And I think, if you're neurotic, you're kind of always going to be neurotic. But there's there's like a deeper sense of knowing that I think maybe you feel in your heart or something like that.
Right.
That kind of transcends the whole thing. And then you can love it all. You start to, instead of not wanting to be crazy, you love your craziness.
Yeah.
And then you're free.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I think I found a title. I think it'd be called In Search of Peace.
Ooh.
The Missed Calls from the Heart Space.
Damn. There you go.
There we go.
That's it.
All right. I feel better about it.
Just wrapped a fucking bow on that one.
Yeah. Thank you, Ashley, for those questions. Those were fun.
Yeah.
That was really fun. Well, those are all the questions we have received thus far.
Send us more.
Send us more. We liked doing this. And if you guys like listening to us ramble and say a lot, keep that shit coming.
Yeah, I hope this was interesting. I mean,
yeah. And if it's not, if we don't get any more Ask Us Anythings, we'll know to never do this again.
It's a fun experiment.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, thank you guys for tuning in and we'll okay. Yeah. We're not going to end on that. I really wanted to. John was like, nah. But thanks for tuning in to another episode of Artsy AF. We love y'all, and we appreciate your interest and attention.
Yeah, thank you so much. We sincerely appreciate you listening and contributing. Hopefully we get to do more of this. And bye.
Well, we see you later. Thanks for listening to another episode of Artsy AF Podcast.
For additional images and notes on this episode, you can check out our website, artsyafpodcast.com.
And you can find me, Andrew Norris, at andrew.norris.arts on Instagram. And andrewnorrisarts.com is my website. I also have links on my website to episodes as well as all my best paintings.
And you can find me, John Speaker. My website is johnspeaker.com. On Instagram, I'm at John Speaker, and on Facebook, John Speaker Art.
Thanks again for listening. Peace.
Thank you.